It's 6 o'clock, so I'd like to call this meeting to order. The meeting has been noticed to Evans Print and Media Group, WCOW Radio, Magnum Radio, La Crosse Tribune, Sparta City Hall, and the Sparta Free Library. Mr. Russ, any changes to the agenda?
I have none.
Thank you. That being the case, I would request a motion to adopt the agenda.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Wells.
A second.
Thank you, Mr. Burns Gilbert. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Would you please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Russ, would you remind us of the district's mission statement?
Yes, our mission statement is to educate all students academically, emotionally, and socially to inspire curiosity and resilience.
Thank you. We'll move on to public input. We have no one in present for public input. Mr. Russ?
We do not have anyone present for public input, but I have been asked to read we did have a public input request electronically, and Mr. Scholze, our board president, did ask me to read this into the record. I want to make it clear that this is not my words. This is not my information. I'm just reading this email as asked by our board president. Good afternoon. My name is Rebecca Emerson, and I am the mother of a kindergarten student at Southside. We are new to the area and have been here for 1 year. Our son has an IEP and was born with Down syndrome. He received special education and related services in school. We really enjoy his IEP team and the school. I have an area of concern with the caseload with the SPED teachers and are required to carry in the delay in getting IEP paperwork done in a timely manner. Are overtime hours funded and made available for teachers who need additional administrative time? Also, is there a special education advisory committee to the school board? If not, what is the process to start one? We will be on a camping trip for the 6/26/2023 board meeting, so I'm submitting my question and comments electronically. Rebecca Emerson. And once again, those were Rebecca Emerson's words, not mine. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Russ. And per our usual procedure, we don't respond to public input, but I will go so far as to say we don't have at this time a special education advisory committee, but that is something that we would put on an agenda for discussion if that be the will of the board. Moving on then to reports. Mr. Tom Chambers with a STEM camp report.
So good evening, everyone, and thank you very much for asking me to come and report on our STEM camp, which we put on for the third time in Sparta during the week of June 12th to the 16th. We had 125 campers again this year. They were 3rd through 8th graders, so going into 3rd through 8th grade next year. 52% of our students were military connected, and this camp is supported by a Department of Defense education activities grant, which requires us to have military connected students in order to apply for and receive the grants. That 52% is significantly higher than our district population of military connected kids. But it also means that we had 48% of the kids who are not military connected benefit from the camp and the support that we get from DODEA. So, well, this year's theme for the camp was Disaster Master. So each year the camp has a different theme, and the theme this year revolved all around different types of disasters and emergencies that students or that people can encounter, and how we prepare for them, and how those careers are tied into science, math, and technology. We had 3 days of projects. So Monday through Wednesday, students do hands-on projects. And I think the best part of the projects this year if you ask the kids, was that they could eat them. So they used a lot of different food to discover how meteorites can make craters in the earth. So they were throwing milk duds and things at plates full of whipped cream covered in cocoa powder to watch the cocoa powder ejecta fly off the plate and create the craters. And they were using spaghetti to look at engineering techniques of tensile strength and how one piece of spaghetti isn't very strong, but when you put a bunch of them together, it's harder to break them. And we had some pretty cool slow-mo videos of the spaghetti flying all over the place too. And teachers did discover after the first day that they should do those type of activities outside. So it was a lot of fun hands-on stuff the first 3 days. And then the Thursday was our field trip and Friday was our family day. And I'll get to those, but I'm going to take a step back. The STEM camp itself was created through an educational consulting company in Illinois called Goshen Education, and they worked with DODEA, so the Department of Defense Education Activities, and 10 school districts around the country who receive DODEA grants and are close to military bases to develop this STEM camp to really inspire young kids to get into STEM careers and to think about how they can use STEM education beyond their K-12 education and into their careers. And so Sparta is is one of the Midwest camps. North Dakota has a camp, Derby, Kansas has a camp, and there's one in Illinois. Can't remember the name at the moment. So as I mentioned, each of the days, first 3 days, students did projects, and they rotated through the 3 types of disasters that we learned about. Meteorite strikes was the first one, and so here you can see the cocoa powder whipped cream plates. They also learned about ellipses and orbits and things using down in the lower right hand corner there. You can see they had cups filled with paint, and they had to hole in the bottom and try to create an orbit. And then look at how it made the spirograph type of drawing on the paper. They used simple wood sticks and rubber bands to create slingshots to try to shoot the pendulum to see how difficult it really would be to shoot and deflect an asteroid coming to Earth. So again, a lot of low tech stuff, but really good insights for the kids on how these disasters happen. The second topic was earthquakes, and so they learned about tectonic plates and seismographs and seismology. And again, they did that all with real low tech stuff. So here, using slinkies to learn about S waves and P waves, learning, as I said, the spaghetti. And then in the lower right-hand corner, they actually built their own seismograph out of just cardboard, duct tape, and paper towel rolls and a pencil. And they actually worked. They were able to show how the seismograph picks up on the waves and the shaking of earthquakes. I also did some liquefaction experiments. The picture on the left, they buried the ping pong ball in the liquefied sand, and just by tapping the sides of the bowl, the ping pong ball comes up out of the sand. So they see how, for example, in an earthquake, unfortunately, sometimes things come up out of the ground, like in cemeteries, the coffins will come up out of the ground, or things actually rise from the ground. Oil spills was our final topic, and students learned all about cleaning oil off of animals, cleaning it out of waterways and so on, and learned about some chemistry with oil and water, and had a lot of fun with it. Our field trip went to the REACT Center, so the Regional Emergency Center at Volk Field, and this is a place where firefighters, emergency medical people, and police officers and military learn specialty skills to deal with disasters such as collapses, oil spills, chemical spills, and other disasters, tornadoes, and so on. So they had their instructors there. We also got to tour the drone facility that was out there, and the students were able to use the simulator and fly the drones around, control the cameras and things, and in the hangar, check out the actual drones that they had there. One of our campers was super happy with her lunch guest. Her dad works at Volk Field, so he was able to stop in and have lunch with us at the picnic lunch that we had there. Our final day was a family day here at the middle school. We had a panel to discuss STEM careers, and thank you, Mr. Russ, for joining in on the panel there spontaneously. Colonel Messenger was here from Fort McCoy on our panel. Bill Clem, who is from the regional emergency management group, and Paul Albrecht from Mayo Clinic on their emergency management team, and Elizabeth Sorensen, who is a forecaster at National Weather Service in La Crosse. And then we also had John Osteras, who was a principal engineer in a building analysis company in California, who joined us via Zoom and talked about building and construction failures that he was a part of, including the Oklahoma City Murrah building after the bombing in the 1990s. So the families and kids got a lot of interesting information from the panel. And we also had Mayo Clinic here doing demonstrations. We had the National Weather Service, and the Army was represented here with jobs that they have that are STEM type of jobs. And our high school robotics team was back again, showing the families and kids what the robotics club does at the high school, and keeping kids engaged after they age out of the STEM camp and get into the high school area. And there's some of our vendors and presenters. And Shin Doggies provided a wonderful lunch again at the family day. We appreciated that. So I want to just say a huge thank you to the Sparta School District, to Sam, to Kyla, for supporting this, and then also to all of our partners who helped us out and make this a successful STEM camp again. I think the kids had a great time, heard a lot of good feedback from students and families. Any questions?
Questions from Mr. Chambers?
In one of these pictures, the little girl is holding, it looks like an everlasting gobstopper that's the size of a ping pong ball.
Yes.
I'm wondering what that is.
Good question. I skipped right over that.
There we go.
Right here.
Yeah.
So that was behind her on the board. You can't really see it very well, but that is a diagram of the Earth. And so the center is the core of the Earth, the molten core of the Earth. And so they took Play-Doh and they created a model of the Earth with their different layers, and then they sliced it to look at the Earth in a a side view cross section. Yeah.
It looks like they had a wonderful time.
They really enjoyed it. And again, one of the things that I really liked about this camp, and the curriculum is developed, as I mentioned, by Goshen Education, is that it's very, very low tech. I mean, the kids were not on computers. They were not on iPads. They were building stuff, making things, watching how things react, and working. For example, the oil spill, they had a big pan of oil, a big pan of water, and they put oil in it. And then they were given a number of different items, very simple household items, cloth, cotton balls, dish soap, and they had to try to clean as much of the oil off the water as they could, looking at what works best to do that, and thinking, then extrapolate that to an oil spill in the wild, in nature. And so I think it really gave them a good sense of the types of careers and the types of things that people who deal with emergencies and with disasters really have to think about.
That's wonderful. And with it being all low tech, they could take that information home and share it with their parents or their younger brothers or sisters, or
Absolutely.
share
And
that knowledge. It's wonderful. Thank you.
yes, in fact, one of the other things we had at the family day was a bridge building competition for the families. So they got hot glue guns and toothpicks and they built bridges, and then they tested them on the kids had built shake tables, and they tested them with weights and things to see who could build the strongest bridges.
Mr. Chambers, you said that 52% of the students this year were military connected. How does that compare with the previous 2 years?
I believe it's higher. I don't know. I don't have those numbers in front of me, but I believe that it's a bit higher percentage of military connected than we have
Okay.
had in the past.
And what do we do to achieve that percentage, considering it's more than representative of this
Right.
general population?
I am not sure. I didn't do anything special to promote this anymore. I did share with Becky Wally, who was very supportive of our efforts and helped. In fact, she's the one who gave us the idea to go to the REACT Center. So thank you, Becky, for that. And so it was advertised out at but it was also advertised in a lot of other areas in the community. So I'm not sure.
I'm going to put Becky on the spot. Miss Wally, was there something that was done at the fort to promote amongst families? Very good.
Yeah. And I know we did
Thank you.
have quite a few families from the former
Post.
housing who were bused.
Okay. Any other
Yeah.
questions?
I would just like to add, I think part of that might have been Colonel Messenger was a huge proponent of this and probably did a little bit more as well. He's very active in our schools and that sort of thing. But also, I just wanted to thank all the families who came out on the Friday for the family night or the family day. That was just fantastic to see so many, not just parents, grandparents, neighbors, and that sort of thing, building bridges with, having a competition with their friends and their family. So it was really nice to see that community effort and that collaboration.
Absolutely. One last comment on the STEM camp. This was the final year of the funding through the grant that created the camp. And so Goshen Education, as well as I know all the other districts who are offering the camp, are looking at continued funding, finding continued funding. And so we will be on that trail as well, looking for continued funding. So if anyone has ideas or support, we'd be open to talking with people about that.
I'm wondering, do we have an idea of what the total cost for STEM camp is?
That's an interesting question that I received several times at the family day. And I didn't have a solid answer at that point. And so I reached out to Shannon from Goshen, and they also don't have a real good figure yet, because the costs up to now have been shared. And there are certain things that we believe we can do to minimize costs by reusing things in the past that we maybe haven't. And so we're trying to get a solid figure for that before we start to reach out and make an ask, so we know exactly what we need.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Moving on to the consent agenda, if you'd please take a moment to look over that list, and if someone feels comfortable to make a motion to approve the consent agenda, that would be appropriate.
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Thank you, Ms. Lopez.
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Burns Gilbert. We have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. Any further discussion? If not, roll call vote, please.
Mr. Burns Gilbert,
Yes.
Mr. Hendricks,
Yes.
Mr. Wells,
Yes.
Ms. Lopez,
Yes.
Ms. Barron.
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously. We'll move on to business items. The first is discussion and possible action to keep the breakfast and lunch prices the same as the 22-23 school year for the 23-24 school year.
Mr. Hendrick,
Yes.
I do have an update on this item.
Thank you, Ms. Hauser.
So since we presented at the committee meeting, as you know, we're reconciling our books right now to prepare for our audit. And we did find an entry that needed to be made in Fund 50, which is our nutrition program. What happened was our universal free breakfast was, there was an error in the spreadsheet that we used to record that. So when we adjusted our revenue to actual, in essence, it was double counting the revenue for our universal free breakfast sites. It reduced our revenue this year by approximately $80,000. That doesn't mean we lost revenue. It's just we had overstated in the report that we were reviewing for the committee meeting. And so with that change, Fund 50 will roughly break even this year. Again, we're still closing out our final transactions, but we're looking at closer to a break even for 22-23. So I just wanted to share that new information because at committee meeting, we thought we were coming out of 22-23 with the income.
Thank you for that update. So given that, I'm open to a motion to either accept the recommendation or, in light of the new information, to go back to the administrator's recommendation of increasing the breakfast and lunch prices by, I believe it was 5 cents.
And before that, just to review, the breakfast prices are listed. And the recommended was no change, as Mr. Hendrick said. And then those are the lunch prices with the recommended 0 change, just so you know, we can go back and forth as well.
Is it appropriate to ask questions before we make a
Sure,
motion?
why not?
Okay. Ms. Hauser, so I believe I understand that we are breaking even in Fund 50, which is the nutrition fund for the 2022-2023 school year. But that does not mean that that fund does not carry a fund balance. We still have a fund balance in that account. Is that correct?
That is correct. So our fund balance would be approximately what we ended last year with, which was about $470,000. So we definitely still have a healthy fund balance. The USDA recommends it be 3 months of operating expenses. To have some room out for operating expenses, I agree is appropriate, whether it's 3 months or not for discussion. But I do know that we have 2 kitchens with aging equipment, and that equipment can be pretty expensive. So we definitely, in my opinion, would want to carry a fund balance of several $100,000 just in case for that equipment, and then any operating unexpected things. For the main changes in cost for 23-24, inflation continues to be a real thing. And we won't fully know the impacts of that. However, the indicators from the USDA are saying the cost will continue to go up. We also know that our cost for salaries will increase the 5.75%. And our cost for health insurance will go up 10%. So we do know that we have increasing costs for next year.
Thank you for that information. And then if I recall correctly, if we were to increase the breakfast and lunch prices, the recommendation was 10 cents or 5 cents? 5 cents. Okay. And that would yield a profit of approximately $8,000. Okay. Thank you.
Any other discussions or someone like to make a motion?
I would make a motion to approve the recommendation that came out of committee to leave the school lunch and breakfast prices the same as 2022-2023 school year.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion by Ms. Lopez, a second by Mr. Burns Gilbert. Further discussion?
I still think that we should increase it just by a little bit. No, 8,000 isn't enough, but I think if we make slow progress towards that 3 months, it's better than making no progress at all. So that's why I will stick to the same voting pattern as I have during the committee meeting.
Thank you. Other discussion? Thank you.
I agree with Todd that we do need to maybe increase it a little bit. I would rather increase 5 cents this year versus 20, 30, 50 cents in a year or two, I guess.
Thank you for that input.
Ms. Hauser, what did we increase last year? Was it 15% or 15 cents?
I believe last year we did 0 increase. Did we? I'm sorry, let us verify.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you. While we're waiting for that, I guess I value both of your comments, and I do understand that. I struggle a little bit because we had that larger increase last year. And I know I was contacted by a number of families who said it was very difficult to adjust to that. It might just seem like a little bit to us, but to some families, it's a lot. And I do see your point about not increasing, increasing a little bit every time. But with that large increase last year, I think I still feel as though no increase this year would be appropriate.
So if I'm reading, so I'm looking at a chart that for 2021, because 21-22 was free. So the last time we made an increase from 2021 to 2020 to 2021, lunch went up 30 cents. Lunch and breakfast went up 30 cents. Shouldn't say that. Breakfast went up 20 cents. Lunch went up 30. And that was back at 2021. 1920, breakfast stayed the same, and it was increased by 5 cents from that increment there.
Any further discussion? So handwriting's on the wall here that it's going to come to 2 and 2 with the deciding vote. And so I'm going to vote to leave it the same. And my rationale for this is that yes, it's good to have a healthy fund balance, and we may face some significant costs in nutrition services in a year or two, but we may not. And if we do, we may have to supplement. I mean, if it's a whole lot of repairs, we may have to supplement, but then we can go ahead and do that. I don't think the $8,000 is going to make or break that situation. So that's why I'm going to vote to leave the breakfast and lunch prices the same. With that, if there are no further discussion, I'll call for a roll call vote, please.
Ms. Lopez,
Yes.
Mr. Wells,
No.
Ms. Barron,
No.
Mr. Burns Gilbert,
Yes.
Mr. Hendricks.
Yes. Motion carries 3-2. Thank you. Moving on to item B, discussion and possible action to approve all the recommendations from the Human Growth and Development Community Advisory Committee. Kyla, I believe you're going to take lead on this.
I can take the lead if you're okay
Okay.
with that, Ms. Mansky. So out of the committee, the board took all the recommendations from the committee. We put them back on slides. And if it's okay, The elementary recommendation, the K3 elementary recommendation, was mostly discussed. And might have been some question there. So it'll be my recommendation that we take these one at a time. To break them up to make sure that it's clear, it gives administration clear guidance, or the board even clear guidance, rather than lumping them all into one. We'll take them one at a time. Is that okay, Mr. Hendricks?
Yes, but before, although we're going to take them or vote on them one at a time, would you please give us both so
Yep.
that we have a clear understanding?
Yep, we'll give you all at once. So the elementary recommendation was to discuss in the human growth and development curriculum. This is all based on human growth and development curriculum. This is not other types of curriculum. Discuss good touch and bad touch in grades K through 3. And move the hygiene videos to grade 3, both for boys and girls. The administration originally did not recommend these, specifically the good touch, bad touch. It does not mean we're not going to talk about them or teach them or put them in the curriculum. We just didn't think that was the appropriate spot for the human growth and development side. The hygiene videos, that's perfectly fine moving that down to that level. The other elementary recommendations, which were recommended by administration, keep around the corner in the video grades 4, ever changing and growing up video in grade 5, and then add the personal hygiene products discussion in grade 5, while the boys and girls are separated. That was recommended by the committee, and administration would recommend that as well. Middle school recommendation, it's again still supported by administration and the committee. Eliminate disease prevention in human growth and development for the learning target. Sexting and peer pressure curriculum added. The tampon slide removed with the vagina reference, and then remove the video clip with the breast in that. That was recommended by the committee and recommended by administration as well. And then finally, for the high school, grade 9, adding resources for sexual assault victims, adding adoption, prenatal care, and postnatal supports, adding marriage and socioeconomic benefits in more detail, add a slide of prevention of implantation and family planning, link in the calendar method, and then adding the impact of media into healthy relationships and thoughts. These also were recommended by the committee and by administration as well. So we can take these in any order, Mr. Hendricks, that you wish, or the board can go based on the recommendation from the committee as well, which is approve the high school recommendations, which is approve all of this. All of this was approved.
Thank you, Mr. S. So if I understood the discussion from committee correctly, the most controversial was the K3 recommendation. So what I would like to do is call for action on the recommendations for grades 4, 5, 6, and 9, and then go back and discuss the recommendation for K3 to simplify things. If that's acceptable, I would encourage a motion to adopt the 4, 5, 6, and grade 9 recommendations.
I will make the motion to approve 4, 5, 6, and 9 recommendations for the human growth and development.
Thank you, Mr. Wells.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Mr. Burns Gilbert. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. So then that leaves, if you put the slide up then for the K3 recommendations, please. I'd be open for a motion to a motion to either approve the recommendation that was made out of committee, or to approve the recommendation of the administration.
I would like to make a motion to approve the recommendation that came out of both the Citizen Advisory Committee and the Committee of the Whole meeting, which is to adopt the good touch, bad touch in grades K-3 and moving the hygiene video to grade 3 as part of the human growth and development curriculum.
Thank you, Ms. Lopez. Is there a second? Is there a second? Is there a second? If not, that motion dies. Is there an alternative motion that someone would care to make?
I will make the motion to go forward with administration's recommendations on the K-3 elementary side for human growth and development.
Thank you, Mr. Wells. Is there a second to that motion?
Yeah, I'll second that.
Thank you, Mr. Burns Gilbert. And discussion, please.
Sorry, just looking at clarification. Are you looking to not include, are you okay with our administration recommendation for grade 3, boys and girls, the hygiene video?
So what I see on the screen, everything.
So maybe let's clarify that by Mr. Russ, if you would just tell us again, what is the recommendation of the administration?
Well, actually,
No.
can
So-
I ask one clarifying question
Yeah.
first? Can we start with that? I remember the good touch, bad touch, and that's the thing that I agree with administration with here. Why aren't the hygiene videos, just to be clear on here now? I must have forgot.
What specifically was your question about the hygiene videos?
Just your recommendation for what I'm seeing up here.
Yep, I think really the good touch, bad touch, like we said before, we really felt that belonged more with the counseling. Hygiene, it could be part of human growth and development. It could also be part of health. It's really about showering and, brushing your teeth and washing your hands is really kind of what was covered in that video.
But we would support that coming out of the committee as well. That would, because we can send the video link to the families. We can make sure they have all that information.
So that I'm clear, what we're saying is that the administrative recommendation is to support moving hygiene videos to grade 3, both boys and girls, but to leave the good touch, bad touch information presentations with guidance and counseling and not with human growth and development.
Yes, it would not be part of our human growth and development curriculum.
And Mr. Wells, you made that motion. Is that what
Yep, so based
you
on my.
support in your motion?
Yep, based on my understanding is that the administration does not support everything that's above that's on the screen currently. And I could specifically understand the good touch, bad touch, because I believe that if for some reason, if it always had to be a sign off, we could potentially leave a victim to fall through the cracks. And I believe, I'd rather have, a couple peeved off parents than a victim fall through the cracks. And that's something that I personally believe in and that I believe is of utmost importance. As of the hygiene videos, it might be more efficient just to have that in a general health class, especially because it's just brushing your teeth and showering. I don't really see that as a generalized under the blanket term of human growth and development. So I think it'll be best to follow administration's recommendations as per my motion.
Thank you, Mr. Wells. Further discussion?
I would definitely recommend caution if it is the board's decision to proceed with that recommendation. First of all, discussing good touch, bad touch definitely falls within the state statute for human growth and development. Is that correct, Mr. Russ?
That would be part of the curriculum that would be allowed per the statute. Yes.
Yep. And with it being part of the human growth and development, it would require notification to parents that good touch, bad touch was being taught. One of the other portions of the state statute states, number one, the importance of communication about sexuality between the pupil and the pupil's parents or guardians. If we were to proceed with that recommendation to implement a good touch, bad touch conversation with students outside of the human growth and development curriculum without requiring parental notification, I think we're opening up a can of worms. This district, this school board, I believe, is trying to be more transparent with parents. And I think we need to be very specific in what we're telling them, especially regarding important topics like sexuality, like good touch, bad touch at 5 years of age. Parents need to be involved. Leaving parents out of the loop or not getting their specific, or rather without giving them notification and the option to opt out, in my opinion, would be a huge misstep on the part of the district.
Can you clarify, Mr. Russ? Will that still be notified if that's implemented that way? I think last time we talked about, we weren't exactly sure what that implementation or what that integration would look like. But when I read this and from remembering from that, if we did not include it in the human growth and development curriculum, but through the counselors or health aides or whoever in-building folks, right, that it would still be notified. They would still have a chance to say X, Y, and Z is coming, or right. Can you share what that'll look like?
We don't have the specific plans, but we will look to be sharing as much as we can. I do understand Todd's point. Saying, hey, we're going to do this, and then some parents pull their kids out. Might be something that is this, do we, the question is, do we want the parents to, whether, I guess I'm going to backtrack that. We would look to communicate this as much as possible. And if we're doing fractions in math, I want our teachers to let our parents and families know that we're doing fractions in math, not to necessarily pull them out of fractions, for example, but to talk about fractions. How can you do that? Let's cut up a piece of pizza. What can we do that? Same thing with human growth and development. It's required part of that, but if we don't do that, we still want to communicate with families. This is what we are going to be talking about, whether it's health class, whether it's through the school counselor, whether it's through all school assemblies, whatever that might be. We have a police officer coming in to talk about those things, whatever that might be. We want to communicate as much as possible. That's the bottom line, and have those discussions. The human growth and development require it. There's another layer of specificity there. Not to say that we would do it, don't get me wrong, under the human growth and development parameters if the board decides to go that way. If not, it would go back into the normal communications of discussions with lessons, units, and that sort of thing. And yes, we would put a priority on making sure that our parents know this. And that would be on the building principals to make sure that that happens, and delivery method, how that happens.
I think it's also important to be clear that good touch, bad touch under the counselors isn't new. I mean, I even think I remember going through it when I was in kindergarten. And the reality is that it just wasn't part of human growth and development for at least, if my memory serves me right, at least over 15 years. So I get the transparency side, and I do want administration to be transparent. It's just that if it ends up opening the other can of worms, which would be potentially not allowing victims to can't find the right word, but not allowing victims to be out so that we can find them and be good stewards. If we can't do that, then I think the cost is much greater than than what we're trying to get, especially because these are very young children, and that they don't know, they're told something and they believe it. So it is up to us as stewards of the community to protect victims as much as possible.
Further discussion? Yes, thank you.
Another question. So if my understanding was the human growth and development curriculum ended at fourth grade, right? So anything before fourth grade would be us choosing to go above and beyond statutes. Is that correct? The requirements?
No, not necessarily. This is new. The rest of the information, the grades 4 and above, it was in place for the most part. The framework was in place.
Mhm.
We had no K3 human growth and development curriculum, and we still do not as of now,
Mhm.
if that helps. The grade 4, 6 and 9 have always been there, and the board just voted to tweak and redo some things and redefine.
And that's part of like DPI and the best practices, the fourth grade. That's
That I don't know. That has just been our past practice.
Okay.
Because the board can, before all of this, we don't have to talk about human growth and development. The board can vote, say, we are not talking about human growth and development,
Mhm.
and it's a done deal. We don't have these discussions. But since we do have a human growth and development curriculum, and we've continued with that, now we decide what is in that curriculum. And this would be new curriculum at the K3 level for that, in the human growth and development side.
And then when it's part of the curriculum, then the classroom teachers teach that?
Not necessarily. It is up to us on how that's delivered. It could be classroom teachers, it could be school counselors, it could be another professional. It could be whatever that is, but that's up to the administration on how to best deliver that. It may look different at kindergarten than at third grade.
Mhm.
The teachers at third grade may talk about it. The kindergartens, they may have the school counselor come in and do that. So we haven't figured that out yet, but we will do that very soon here.
Is that something the board will be able to review or the committee will review before it's implemented since it's new or?
That would be the administration's, it's just like a new math, hey, we want to teach fractions and we don't, it's up to the administration and up to the teachers and the professionals to say, how are we going to deliver that? So there's that trust there. It's just what is going to be taught is now at the board level in human growth and development.
Yeah, I guess that's kind of some of those points Ms. Lopez brought up were concerning of the notification. So I want to make sure that's still on our radar. I think part of what makes me a little more okay with going this route is that we have the committee now that didn't exist until a few months ago. Trusting the folks around the table that are teaching it and up to date with standards, we'll be able to make adjustments as we go forward. That's kind of where I come from of knowing that there's a process and a system in place to be able to take what we have and improve it, adjust it along the way as it evolves over time and new things are added or taken away. So I think that's kind of where I'm coming from to then provide the most hopefully safety for all of our students that need it per some of Todd's points too. So thanks.
So understanding that the Human Growth and Development Committee does not meet regularly, it just meets at whatever interval the district decides for it to meet. And the Human Growth and Development Advisory Committee met for about 3.5 hours. Is that correct? Yes. And during that time, there was a lot of discussion about this. And this is one of the most highly recommended. I think we kind of did a thumbs up, thumbs to the side and thumbs down. And I think that this was almost a unanimous thumbs up, if I'm correct, yes. So, again, if we're going to be notifying parents anyway, the advisory committee wanted this to be part of the Human Growth and Development curriculum. And, I think that in this situation, it would behoove the district, would behoove the board to listen to that, especially given that it's not going to be meeting regularly to discuss these things, only when the district would recommend for it to meet. Lastly, if we make that recommendation, as we've separated these two, it would leave the hygiene video hanging out there in Never Never Land, I believe. The hygiene video was previously given to fourth graders, but it was discussed during the advisory committee, that we needed to lower that to third grade. because children in third grade needed a little bit of hygiene help starting earlier on, because one of the reasons given was just the fact that children are entering puberty at an earlier age. Is all of my information correct, Ms. Minsky? Thank you.
Further discussion? And I'm sorry, I need one more clarification then. Regarding the hygiene videos to grade 3, is the opposition to this recommendation the fact that the videos are going to grade 3, or that there will be part of the human growth and development curriculum? And so that if we follow the administration's recommendation, will the videos still go to grade 3, but just not in human growth and development?
That's how I interpret it, that we would pull this from human growth and development and it would be part of health.
But it would still be, it would
We
still
would
go
still,
to
we
grade
would still
3.
recommend that those videos be shown in third grade.
Okay.
Yes.
And is that is that the understanding of the person who made the motion?
Yeah.
Okay, and the second. Okay. All right. Unless there's further discussion, we'll have a roll call vote, please. And just so that we're very clear, a yes would be to follow the administration's recommendation. A no would be to reject the administration's recommendation.
Mr. Hendricks,
Yes.
Ms. Behrens,
Yes.
Ms. Lopez,
No.
Mr. Burns Gilbert,
Yes.
Mr. Wells.
Yes.
Motion carries 4-1. Thank you for that discussion. Moving on to item C, discussion and possible action to approve budget revisions to the 22-23 budget. Ms. Hauser?
Yeah. I did a detailed review of the budget revisions at the committee of the whole in the 2 weeks approximately since then. The main thing that has changed is we've had confirmation from DPI of all of our final state revenue amounts. Some of them we did just as we expected, and some came in a little lower. So for example, we get aid for the amount of students who live on Fort McCoy's military base or who live in foster homes. And that amount changes every year. It's basically a finite pot of money, and then it gets distributed, and we don't receive knowledge of that amount till the end of June. That amount did come in about $100,000 less than last year. Some of the other aids we had our final notification on were transportation aid, which also came in a little bit less than last year. But overall, no significant changes, and I'm recommending that the approval tonight be on the budget that was shown at committee. Just to refresh, we close our books officially July 15th with the expenses that we post back to the 22-23 school year. We still have payroll to run for June 30th. And then we have our payroll payables also. So there's still a decent amount of transactions happening in the next couple of weeks. So in July, I will bring you the final budget revision to reflect all of the changes over the past week, as well as over the upcoming few weeks.
So it would be appropriate for a motion to approve the budget revisions that were presented at the committee of the whole, understanding that there will be further revisions coming in July.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you,
Approve the
Mr.
budget as presented.
Thank you, Mr. Burns Gilbert.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Mr. Wells. Any further questions or discussion? If not, a roll call vote is appropriate.
Mr. Hendricks,
Yes.
Ms. Lopez,
Yes.
Ms. Behrens,
Yes.
Mr. Wells,
Yes.
Mr. Burns Gilbert,
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries 5-0. Going to further to discussion and possible action to approve grants and donations.
Yes, we have 4 grants, or I'm sorry, 4 donations and grants to give you today. Sparta Education Foundation for the Student Support Fund, Matthews for Special Education, the Sparta FFA Alumni Association for the Milk in the Parade, the Butterfest Parade, and then the Goshen Education Consulting for STEM Camp for their very generous donations.
Those are some very generous donations, and I believe we need to have a motion to approve to accept those.
I make a motion to accept the grants and donations for approval.
Thank you, Ms. Lopez.
I'll second that motion.
Thank you, Mr. Wells. All in favor, say aye.
I
Opposed? Motion carried. Further?
And just for your information, just like to thank schoolstore.com for Reading for Education for a very generous donation for student needs. And then Aptiv for special education at Meadowview.
Very good. We certainly appreciate all of those donations. Announcements, information, Mr. Russ.
Yes, first off, Happy New Year ahead of time. July 1, we celebrate our Happy New Year, and Miss Hauser is very excited to get out of 2022, 2023 into 23, 24, and she juggles them both at the same time. So anyway, but that's kind of a joke we have in the education world, and you send out a Happy New Year and do all those things. So we don't stay up till midnight though on June 30th. Committee of the Whole is coming up on July 10th. We have a special board meeting on the 20th. That will be focused on our facility assessment and master planning. And so we're really looking forward to that. We're working with Baird, Bray and Markin and Johnson and School Perceptions, and the administrative team really coming together to give that presentation to the board at that time. It'll be 5:30 and on the 20th. I apologize for not having the 5:30 time in there. On the full board as normal on the 24th. And then the first Soup with the Soup is on August 9th. It's a community engagement on the facilities assessment and master planning that was given to the board. The biggest question I have right now is, will I have soup or something else? Because it's August, but I like soup at any time. So we'll see. So we'll be really promoting that. The 20th will be a board discussion about the facility assessment and master planning, some questions with Bray, Markin and Johnson and administration. And then we'll take that input and bring that to the Soup with the Soup, the workshop model, and get some engagement with the community, get their feedback and move that process along. For the auditorium, we still are on track. We're looking to get that RFP for the auditorium project on July 5th. And our plan is to get this to the full board on the end of the month in July. So for that approval, so we can move forward with that as well. And then we have the committee of the whole on August 14th, full board. And then, yes, it's right around the corner, September 1, first day of school. We have some people cheering and some other people shaking their head. So I'm cheering. So, but anyway, we have some time. We still have time to get ready and prepared and everything like that. For summer school started last week for high school and middle school credit and for credit recovery. So they'll be going, the weight room, Spartan Fit, open gyms and that sort of thing have been going on since school got out. And then STEM camp we talked about earlier today. And then our traditional summer school will start July 10th, right away in that morning.
Any questions for Mr. Russ? If not,
Give the location of that facilities meeting on the 20th.
The 20th is at Meadowview. It'll be here.
other questions? All right, very good. If not, I'm open for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Burns Gilbert.
I can second that.
All right, thank you, Ms. Behrens. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We're adjourned.